Hello, everyone. This is Sebastian from the European Campaign Playbook. Welcome to another digital lunch on Fridays. This is becoming a regular in our community. And today we have a really special event, which is about how to influence the EU bubble. It is special because of the topic, which is very relevant nowadays, but also because of the story behind the event and how we were able to find not only this speaker, but many other female speakers in the EU bubble. Before we go on to this, just a quick introduction about who we are, because there are a lot of interest around who we are, what's this community about. It's very simple. We are a community of pro-European campaigners. We work in communications, in campaigns, in public affairs, who during the lockdown decided to start organizing to create a community that shares best practices, that does networking events like this one, and to do many things more. We are always open for new initiatives. This is an individual initiative. We don't receive money from anyone, and the little cost or the low cost that we have for the website and for the designs on social media, we pay that from our own pockets. And the most important thing is that we are looking for people like you, the people who might be watching, and we want to ask you to get involved. And the only thing you need to do is to go on that URL that you see on the screen, share with us your contact details, or simply drop us a note on social media. All right, having said that, I will start bringing on the different speakers. For those who are watching on social media, you can send your questions using the comments section of YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, and we will bring those questions to the table. And to those who are watching and who are waiting to join us on camera, I will introduce you whenever the time is right. In the meantime, you can always write on the private chat that you have on the right-hand side of your screen. Without further ado, I'm gonna start bringing Anna Mingo, who is EU Affairs expert and the Director of Communications at the Brussels Binder. And I will tell you a little bit more about why she's here with us. Hello, Anna.
Hi, Sebastian. Thanks for having me here. I'm always happy to speak about the Brussels Binder and gender inequality in conferences and in the media in general. So thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. And that brings us to the next guest, who is Anna-Kaisa, and who is a EU Affairs expert, and who is the main guest today. And she's going to share with us a really interesting story, and we're going to be able to have a conversation about how to effectively influence the EU bubble. Hello, Anna-Kaisa.
Hi, Sebastian. Hello, Anna. Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me on this rainy Friday afternoon.
Indeed. I assume that the four of us are in Brussels, so we get the weather joke. So first things first, I prepared an agenda that we may be able to stick to. If not, it will be even better, because that will mean that the conversation is taking an unexpected turn, which is always great. But the first thing that I wanted to talk today is to present the Brussels Binder, because one of the things that happened to me when I was looking for people to do an event like this was that in a male-dominated industry like it is campaigns. And by the way, there are important changes, because even you can see in the Biden campaign that the full communication unit is made of exceptional women, and I have the pleasure to know some of them. But it is true that the industry it's male-dominated, and it was a problem for me to find really good speakers. I came across with this website, the Brussels Binder, and it just solved my life. Actually, I'm having like more events with women so far than with men, which is great. Last week we had the former advisor of the president of the Prime Minister of France, Edouard Philippe, and so this is, it's not true that there are not women out there. And now with the Brussels Binder, it's just, it's so easy that there are really like no more excuses not to have them included in the debate. So without further ado, I'm gonna give Anna the word now, so that she can explain us what they are doing at the Brussels Binder. Anna, take it over.
Hi, everyone, again. So thank you for having me here. I'm really pleased to be here. Always happy to speak about the Brussels Binder, as I said. So I have prepared only a few slides. I tried to spare you some of the details, and I was hoping that we'd had a nice chat during the Q&A. So feel free to ask any questions as you see fit. So my name is Ana Mingo. My primary background is in government affairs, covering energy and environment, and since 2019, I am co-leading the Brussels Binder Communications Working Group. So I will start with sharing my screen, if you don't mind. Just remove all non-essential things. All right, so let us start with who we are. In a nutshell, the Brussels Binder is a free, openly accessible. You can see it, yeah.
We can't. If you click on the share screen, I will be able to bring it up. If you just click on the share screen, now, there you go.
It's there, just checking. Yeah, it's there.
It's there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's there.
So, okay, so I will start with who we are. In a nutshell, the Brussels Binder is a free, openly accessible, cross-sectorial database of women experts, which is intended for both journalists as well as conference organizers that are seeking women's voices. And we make it, we believe, very easy to do so. So you can simply click on Find an Expert on the website by searching by sector, areas of expertise, region, languages, what have you. And it will give you a list of women experts. As I will explain in a bit, we have also expanded our vertical and horizontal scopes by launching a repository of databases that were already in existence. So I'll explain that in a bit. And the reason why we should care is because it's 2020, almost 2021, and from conference panels to business conventions to lecture to media appearances, TV, we see by far more men than women. And indeed, the numbers show that there is a big problem, unfortunately. So EU Panel Watch found that out of 1,563 speakers, only 1/3 were women in 2018. And the Open Society Foundation found that from 2012 to 2017, out of 20,615 speaking roles at major European conferences, 3 out of 4 were occupied by men. And in the media, we see that only 37% are female voices of the quotes in general. So it is important as well to bear in mind the broader significance of the fact that 50% of the population is ill-represented. So I would just like to emphasize that a female presence in events or in the media isn't just symbolic. It also sends an important message to the audience about what kind of experts are actually out there. Conferences and panels, speaking slots often are very highly coveted, and they allow professionals to share their knowledge and gain higher profiles. And these are the places where ultimately connections are made and deals are made as well. And without those opportunities, women can very well miss out on job offers and other collaborations. And last but certainly not least, so greater diversity improves the quality of policies. as they may, of course, infuse new ideas into the policy process. So in a nutshell, we would just like to emphasize that the reason we exist is that gender equality is not only a cosmetic nice to have. As you know, women hold half of the human experience, half of our expertise, our richness as a society, and their participation has the capacity to improve the quality of debates and uncover new solutions to our challenges, as they ensure wider ranging insights and better policy choices. And they also, as we already discussed, guarantee equal access to stepping stones for career opportunities. So a little bit about our journey. So back in 2015, a group of think tankers with a presence in Brussels got together and decided to come up with what we think is a very sort of refreshingly concrete push for equality. And the name was inspired, as you may have guessed, by Mitt Romney's rather unfortunate comment in 2012 about having received binders full of women. So in 2017, we had a crowd funding campaign, and then we had the beta version launched. 2018, we had an opening ceremony with one of our ambassadors, Mr. Franz Timmermans. 2018, we were also awarded 2 grants, one by DG Justice, EU Rights, Equality and Citizenship Program, and the Open Society Foundation. In 2019, we launched the Brussels Binder Beyond project, and this is a project which aims at building a pan-European network of women expert databases and think tanks and like-minded organizations. 2019, we reached our 1,000th subscriber. And that same year, we also we were awarded the Economic and Social Committee Civil Society Prize. And this year, we launched our Brussels Binder Beyond online repository, which I showed you earlier, trying to bring together all existing online databases of women experts. So where are we now? So we are about 50 volunteers, and we're sitting in different working groups. We have a regular newsletter with a job board, reads of the week, and upcoming events. We regularly organize all kinds of creative workshops in order to work together with journalists and also with conference organizers, seeing how we can tackle the problem all together. And we have right now circa 1,700 registrations. Our next steps is that we are in the development phase of a series of toolkits that were developed in a co-creational process with members of our Brussels Binder Beyond network. And these aim to really provide practical tips and solutions to promote women voices, as well as tackle diversity and inclusion as a whole. Sadly, well, I mean, in June next year, the Brussels Beyond project will come to an end, and then we're going to organize a conference, hopefully physical conference, to share the work and experience of the past 2 years. And we have all kinds of other projects in the pipeline. For example, an app that we want to develop in order to better sort of monitor progress. A new website is going to be launched, and an ambassador program is going to become more concrete. So we really do believe with this project that we are delivering a win-win for everyone. So on the one hand, women experts gain visibility, conference organizers and the media can offer richer panels and better pieces, and policymakers and citizens can learn from new perspectives and also analyses. So if you support our cause, there are so many ways to be part of either the organization and also the movement, because apart from it being a concrete tool, it has also become a bit of a movement that's trying to inspire change. Please follow us on social media and stay up to date about our seminars, workshops, opportunities to contribute. You can always volunteer with us. We have many work groups, so there's a lot of work for everyone. Partner with us, of course, if you like. And one thing that you can already really do is register as an expert via our platform. And of course, spread the word. People don't necessarily understand the issues at hand, and it's good to shed light on this. And of course, last but certainly not least, if you're a conference organizer or if you're a journalist, we would really like to collaborate with you because we understand the challenges, and that's why we're here. we're here to help and we can do things together. So thank you so much for inviting me, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Anna. What I'm doing right now is I am sharing for everyone who is following us. I'm sharing your website on the comment sections of YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope, and we open it up for questions from the people following us on social media that we will try bring a little bit later after the presentation from Anna-Kaisa. But go and check the website. It's in the comment sections of the platform that you've chosen to follow us today, Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope. And thank you for sharing that with us, Anna. Really. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be how to influence the EU bubble by our featured guest speaker, Anna-Kaisa, who we found thanks to the Brussels binder, and that's the whole idea why we also invited Anna Mingo to share with us the latest of this amazing community. So, Anna, it's great to talk to you. We connected a few weeks ago, and you told me that, of course, you are a very well-established EU bubble insider. You've done a lot of work in different places, commission, now with an association. So you know it all, and so but the most interesting thing that you shared with me was a campaign that you were part of that achieved something very significant during the latest hearings of the EU commissioners. So I won't reveal anything else. I really want you to share your story with us and this best case or best practice that you yourself witnessed.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, thank you very much for having me here, and to everybody who is tuning in on this Friday afternoon. Well done. Special thanks to Sebastian for having the foresight and the stamina to come up with something new and creative in the time of pandemic. I think this initiative is really, really nice and much needed. And also big thanks to Anna for presenting Brussels Binder to the audience. I took part in the crowdfunding, and I was one of the first women to log on and upload my profile on Brussels Binder. So I very much recommend everybody to take part, and in that exercise, Brussels Binder is becoming extremely established and such a good best practice on promoting women experts. I will use my time that has been allotted to me in the following way. I will first say a couple of words about my background and kind of explain why I'm giving this talk. And I will then introduce the project that Sebastian mentioned, which was basically about ensuring that gender equality will be part of the hearings of the new commissioners. And it's, of course, the European Parliament that organizes these hearings. And I will tell you how we went about it, and then in the end, hopefully, we'll be able to draw a couple of best practices or lessons learned about this kind of underground operation that we organized a year ago. So about my background a little bit. I first came to Brussels 12 years ago, and I went to work at the European Commission as a press officer for enlargement and for foreign affairs. And I worked in the Commission. My last job in the Commission was the spokesperson for climate action and energy. And in between, I had a 2-year stint in Finland at the Prime Minister's office as communications head. I've always had a very strong interest in gender equality. It's probably a mixture of a little bit about myself, of my studies, which was law and international law, as well as basically just my personal interest, the country I grew up in, the issues that I followed in Brussels. And while I've had this interest in campaigning and kind of influencing things at the grassroots level as well, in addition to the political level that I was working with, I always found many women's networks to be quite tedious and lacking in actionable purpose. And what I mean with actionable purpose is that you need to have something that you need to have something that you're working on. People will eventually stop coming. There was another aspect, which is probably something that Brussels Binder people are seeing as well, and lots of people who work with gender equality issues, that there's very little money moving in there, as opposed to many other lobbyists and interest groups. And I'm mainly talking about industry representatives and sectors like energy, even environment. So for women's affairs, it tends to be a very NGO type of approach of lobbying. And all of this in mind, yet I found myself in co-founding a network in Brussels called the We Can, which is for professional women, mainly at kind of mid-career. Many of our core members, I mean, it's a loose organization or network. I mean, we're not registered or anything like that. So many of us, or at the time I was with the Commission, but many of our core members, they work in a private sector, which already made the approach a little bit different. We set up shop 2017, and it was already the kind of the time preceding the 2019 European elections. And I would say that the 2009 elections, European elections, which set up the new post of the High Representative for Foreign Affairs, Security and Foreign Affairs, was the kind of the starting point for these 5 top jobs rhetorics that has since taken over every single European election. And the 5 top jobs have kind of become this litmus test for gender equality, because it's something that you can measure, because it's only these 5 posts. And it used to be that, well, I mean, we have one woman, so now we have a fig leaf, we've covered gender equality, that's fine. And then because for European commissioners, it is the government who propose. And that was another place where you can have a very clear 28, used to be 28, it's going to be 27 now. But I mean, you had 28, and it's very clear to say that, you know, how many of them are women, how many of them are men. And this discussion was really, really picking up already in 2017. And we felt that we wanted to launch something, an actionable, something concrete ahead of the elections to kind of enforce the debate further. We launched a pledge about gender equality and the economic case for gender equality in 2018. And we did a little bit of press around it and all the bells and whistles, and we had a reception and we had people sign up to our pledge. And it was well received because it brought about a new aspect, which is the economic case of gender parity. It was then in one of our follow-up meetings when I started thinking about that. How are we going to follow up on that pledge? Because ahead of elections, and everybody who is in any way having to do with European politics, everybody knows that 1 year ahead of elections, everybody is lobbying for something. You know, people will be sending op-eds and letters and all kinds of things. I mean, the social media and the more traditional media is teeming with all kinds of letters and calls for this and that and the other. And I thought, how do we ensure that there is going to be some kind of follow-up? And I thought about the selection process of, first of all, the 5 top jobs, or the people for the 5 top jobs, and then what kind of remains open? What is still done in an open space? Where can these people who are, up for a top job in the political job in the European Union, I mean, where can they be challenged in public? And the difference, obviously, between the 5 top jobs, with the exception maybe of the Speaker of the Parliament, but I mean, it happens behind closed doors, and nobody quite really knows on what issues the candidates will be challenged. And I think the prime example of such politics was seen last year with the emergence of 2 rather unexpected holders of top posts. But what is absolutely done in open space, and with everybody having access to follow them online, is the hearings of the European Parliament, of the commissioners. So on to the second part, which is to explain the project a little bit, because I mean, that was the eureka moment, that yes, I mean, European Parliament is the place. So the idea was super, super simple. It was basically that, well, let's put together a roster of questions that cover different policy areas, and let's try to find a way to put these questions forward to the European Parliament when they start preparing the hearings, so that these questions will be part of the kind of the question roster that the commissioner candidates need to answer. Because I mean, of course, gender equality is part of the parliamentary hearings, but it's really, I mean, it's for the FEM committee and possibly the development policy committee. But I figured out that, well, I mean, if we can mainstream sustainability, and if we can mainstream climate action to cover EU budget, across the line, we would have to, I mean, it should be possible to do the same thing with gender equality. So basically, the first steps in the fall of 2018 were to find out the answers to the following questions. What is the timeline of the process of hearing or preparing the hearings, which start taking place in September after, following the election? So what's the timeline? Do we have enough time? Are we making our move at the right time? Who prepares the questions in the parliament? Who is responsible for this? And third, who decides which questions end up in the hearings? Because I mean, there are over 700 MEPs. Everybody has a lot of questions, and you have all kinds of lobbyists and interest groups pushing all kinds of things. And then you have the party political considerations there as well. Who decides? So these were the questions. And when I embarked on this exercise, I started basically requesting meetings with civil servants of the parliament, because these are the people who actually know, because they've been there, they've been around. I mean, and they've covered several political cycles. They know how it works. And they also know that they can explain the political dynamics. I also met up with representatives of the parliamentary groups, their secretariats. And I want to be very clear here, I did not, and we did not get in touch with the MEPs. And there are a couple of reasons for that. First of all, they were all on full campaign mode at the time. And when a politician is in a campaign mode, they say yes to everything. There is very seldom any kind of follow-up. And third, unfortunately, they might not get reelected. So there will be that, and that's why if these were the reasons why we kind of decided that MEPs are at this stage out of this exercise. So in short, I was having coffees with everybody who would see me, which meant drinking lots of coffee. But it was fact-finding at this stage, and interestingly, nobody said no. Everybody was very excited, and it was very clear, because the gender equality question and the gender parity issue was really, really making headlines, and there was an actual debate about this, not just in Europe but also internationally. I mean, it was becoming an issue, and it was very difficult for people to say no. And with and here I have a caveat. That I was basically only meeting women. So I mean, they obviously they would not say no. at the same time, while everybody was being very excited, it was very useful to have their very, very pragmatic and realistic understanding and explanation of how the process works. And this is why it's very useful to talk to experts and to talk to civil servants who know the grind, who do not have personal feelings about the process, and who do not have some kind of specific personal gains of, from spinning a certain way or spinning it a certain way. So it was very, very useful to have a very global, very realistic picture of that. Most importantly, what became very clear, and what was basically then the whole gist of this small campaign or project, was that I mentioned earlier that everybody is lobbying everybody ahead of elections, always, regardless of what elections. As long as there are more than 2 candidates, you have lobbyists all over the place. So it was very clear that if we wanted this process or project to succeed, we'd have to do it anonymously. So we'd basically have to kind of withdraw the idea that we are pushing, we can as a network or anything else, or any kind of organized or official lobby. We'd have to basically do some of the work for them for free and without any kind of endorsement. So together, then how we did it was that together with the colleague, we started reaching out to our unofficial contacts within and outside our network, who were working as experts in the European Commission or in private banks, who were kind of looking at gender equality from a very untraditional points of view. And we basically, I asked them that, well, I mean, you work in agriculture in the European Commission, or you work with trade files. Could you think of a question that could be, relevant for the new commissioner to respond to in relation to your file? And they were like, sure. I mean, yeah. I mean, how many do you want? And I said, well, I mean, if everybody sends like 2 or 3, and then we'll take it from there. And then the questions started trickling in, and it was very interesting because we wanted to focus obviously on the more non-traditional files like trade, budget, transport, agriculture, energy, etc. We met a couple of times, always keeping it very unofficial, very under the radar, very kind of no bells, no whistles, no big noise around it. And we met a couple of times with different kind of experts, always with us, and redrafted, and kind of just wanted to make sure that whatever we are in the end presenting as a roster of questions, we thought that if we have 10 to 15, from different topics, that would already be very good. So we, at the same time, while we were putting together the roster of questions, we were in touch with the parliamentary groups. I mean, with the secretariats of parliamentary groups, and there was one who that kind of said that, well, I mean, send them over and I'll be happy to look at them. And then it went from there. So basically it was just that we had done one part of, we had done like an additional, offering of kind of what we think was important, what could be interesting. And then it was just basically for us to hope for the best and see what happens with them. And I didn't follow each of the oral hearings of all of the commissioners, but I did have a look at the written questions that they get, because every commissioner candidate gets both written questions that they need to reply to by a deadline, and then they will have the oral hearings in the committees on top of that. And many of the questions were there, and it was an absolutely crazy feeling to see that. And then I'm not saying that we were the only ones thinking about this, but it was very, very interesting to see how when you play it right, how you can actually move inside the institutions or the structures and push forward an agenda like this. On the lessons learned, the first one, I think, is the simple ideas usually work the best. This was a very, very simple, almost insanely simple idea, and it was really, I mean, people were quite excited just to see that, well, I mean, somebody's offering them something for free and without any kind of endorsement. Which brings me to the second lesson, that it means that sometimes the cause needs to be more important. It needs to come first, rather than my or your need to or desire to get credit for it. And this is obviously, and with the caveat that I was not doing this to make money. I was not getting my living out of lobbying the European Parliament or anyone else. And this obviously, these are two different things. I could do this like this, and my friends, I was not alone, obviously. The European Parliament is quite possibly, I'm not sure, I haven't seen the statistics, but it's quite possibly the most lobbied institution in the European Union. And with that comes a certain wariness for lobbying action. And that's why, because we were offering something a bit different, might have been also the reason why we were just generally so well perceived and received. The third lesson is definitely learn the system. Just learn the system. Take every call and don't underestimate a single contact. This allows you to know when to move, which is crucial, because so many people look at only the rank of the people and think that, well, I mean, I need to be able to have a meeting with the commissioner or senior advisor or director general or an MEP. But the bulk of any policy proposals or legislative proposals, before they are politically endorsed, the bulk is prepared by civil services and by secretariats and by other people, and it's very, very useful to have contacts there as well. Which brings me to my final observation, which is that probably my advice on networking is desperately out of date now that we're in a pandemic, and kind of, you know, giving an advice to, you know, just invite people for coffee or lunch is not really going to work in this situation. But I think there's still some ground rules that apply. Nurture your network, whatever it is, and whichever level your network works in or operates in. I will give you an example from the real life. When I was in the Commission, I was in a position where I was the target and object of influencing and lobbying efforts. And there was the kind of lobbyists who would get in touch with me exactly twice a year, which was 2 days before we would present policy proposals or legislation. And they would basically just send me emails saying that, well, you know, long time, you know, this and that. Would you already have an advance copy? And it's a little bit like, well, I mean, that's not really keeping up, you know, that's not maintaining a network. That is just basically exploiting someone you know to give you information in exchange for nothing. And then there was the other kind who kind of stays in touch, and, you know, there's a text every now and then, you know, are you in Strasbourg this week? Do you have time for a quick coffee? And this and that. And then this is important. It's a small thing. At the same time, these days, I mean, obviously this kind of, you know, randomly bumping into people is, I mean, obviously not going to happen now for some time, but it's still important to, at the same time, remember that nobody has time for anything these days. So it needs to be about, you know, you need to be able to give something, and you either need to be advancing a cause or offering your help or advice, rather than you wanting to make a big show about yourself and kind of just wanting to you know, get in the invitation list of important people. So if you do show that, well, I mean, I'm happy to help you in exchange for nothing at this stage, because I feel that this, you know, for you guys to be advancing this will also make you look really good. The chances are that you will be taken seriously and that your proposals will be taken forward. But I think I will finish here. It's Friday afternoon at the end of the day, and I'd be very happy to continue kind of conversing you with Q&A. So I'll leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna-Kaisa. I mean, it was really good. Congratulations. I have a lot of questions, and I feel and I felt that you are sharing something very important with us, some really good advice as someone who has been both inside and outside. And for that reason, I selected amongst all the people who are following us, I selected 2 members who have started in Brussels recently. So they are, I'm pretty sure that they are absorbing every piece of information, and I want to give them the opportunity to chat with, to meet you and to ask questions. The first one is gonna be Monica, and she's from Poland.
Okay, hello. First of all, you are talking in a very interesting way. I really like that. So my name is Monica, and I've been here for 4 months. I came during September, so it is a very bad timing for me. And now I hope the better is yet to come after New Year's, and I want to be involved and get engaged in some projects. And I would like to start somewhere. So maybe you also have some advice how to network here. I'm still, have that kind of belief that I'm just the newcomer, just still a student, and sometimes maybe I don't know if I can come to somebody or ask some questions. Maybe you can answer that kind of question for me.
Over to you, Anna-Kaisa.
Welcome, Monica. Welcome in Brussels, and indeed, there have been better times. I mean, obviously for everybody in terms of everything. I mean, clearly, but I mean, especially with moving to a new place like Brussels. I find myself that Brussels and Washington D.C. are very similar cities in that. They basically run on networks, on people's networks, and there's a massive amount of people who make their living just by networking, and the importance of networks in Brussels cannot be undermined. And I do understand that it feels very overwhelming in the situation where you're new in the city and you can't really, spontaneously get in touch with people. But I think especially, normally in normal circumstances, I would just advise you to start expanding from maybe the kind of the Polish nationals that you know here to invite them for coffees. I mean, usually it starts by coffee, and then you expand to lunch or something else when you start getting to know the person a bit better. But in this situation, I'd advise just to be very active online and participating webinars and just merely, just really reaching out. And then I'm sure that, maybe the perm rep can even, if you need to kind of know that where about your compatriots, for example, which would be a very kind of one of very natural ways to expand. They could maybe help you out with where they work and what kind of positions they have. For sure, the Polish community in Brussels is quite large, and obviously I don't mean that we're here to network with people from our countries, but that's very often, especially in this kind of situation, it can be an interesting place to start. Because what I find myself, and what I found especially this year when everything moved online, that keeping in touch with people and those networks that you already have is fine, and that kind of works okay online. But getting in touch with new people just to without a specific agenda is quite hard, because everybody needs to kind of, it's like, can we slot a Zoom? So you have to give them the reason why you want to talk to them, and that can be sometimes a bit awkward, because it's just like, it's a different thing just to bump into someone and say that, well, I mean, would you do you have 15 minutes? Let's have a coffee. Whereas with would you be able to find a slot in your agenda for a Zoom? So it's challenging, and I'm sure that there have been and there will be a lot of webinars about networking and influencing during the pandemic and doing everything online, because it will for sure have a huge impact on how the whole industry, how the whole lobbying industry will work in the future. Because I mean, their importance in Brussels cannot be undermined in any way.
There you go, Monica.
Thank you.
If all you could take that piece of advice and write it down, because she was really spot on. The next one is gonna be a very good friend of mine. He's from Hungary, Danish, and he's working in a campaign at the moment. I leave it up to him to disclose it if he wants, but he's working in a really like he's at the peak moment of the campaign right now to influence the parliament. So I leave it up to him to see what he wants to.
Hola, Sebastian. Hey, and cześć. I'm really grateful to be here. Muchas gracias. Bardzo dziękuję. Kiitos paljon. Köszönöm szépen. Indeed, as Sebastian said, I'm literally running from one meeting with MEPs to another with regards to the Minority Safe Pack initiative, which is a European citizens initiative that is going to have a plenary debate and a resolution debated and discussed on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And my question to you, Anna-Kaisa, is, we're Finno-Ugrians, and our language families, of course, are quite unique, and we have some relatives, such as the Estonians or the Livonians, but our languages are quite distant and apart from others. So would you say that in your experience, has linguistic and cultural diversity mattered a great deal? And what I mean by that, for example, is I just sent off an email in Polish to Polish MEPs, and Monica, I think, here will appreciate Hungarian learning Polish. Of course, Polak węgier dwa bratanki do szabli do szklanki. Poles, Hungarians, good friends they be. They fight and drink together, as the old saying says. And I want to ask you, in your experience, has it been a disadvantage that you come from a Finno-Ugrian country and that our languages are considered to be very hard, when in fact I always think our languages are so logical and easy to understand? What's the big deal?
Thank you, Dennis. I think, and kiitos paljon. I think that was actually a very interesting question. No, I mean, I do acknowledge that cultural and linguistic differences, I mean, obviously they do play a part, and that's what makes Brussels very exciting and such an exciting place to work. But I haven't, for me, because I mean, I have not represented Finland here. I've worked in the Commission, so my nationality or my linguistic capabilities have not been. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that it has, but especially not as regards linguistics. But as regards cultural differences, I think they're probably a bit more, yes, and also the kind of the perception and the perception and ideas that people place on certain nationalities or nations rather, and cultures, and being a Finn, coming from a country that has a very, very strong tradition for gender equality and has been in the forefront of gender equality politics for many, many years, it kind of fit my profile and boosted the kind of my profile a little bit when I was talking about this, because I mean, it gave a little bit that, well, I mean, this person is a credible person to talk about this because I mean, she knows what she's talking about. But in terms of linguistics, I would not. Because I wasn't really conversing very much with Finns anyway. I mean, most of the people I spoke to were actually not Finns at all. Which, yeah, I mean, there were. I mean, obviously, a couple. I mean, we have a small network, and I know most Finns who work in the institutions. So I mean, obviously, yes, but I wouldn't I wouldn't. I mean, we operated. I mean, we can operate in English. English is pretty much the lingua franca or bad English is lingua franca in Brussels anyway. So I wouldn't say, but definitely cultural differences and the perceptions people have, and often the kind of caricatures and ideas that they place on certain nationals that might play a role. But I think I was in a slightly different position because I work at the Commission, which is a supranational institution where you're not really representing your country.
Indeed, and I have to completely agree with that. And if I could just say, earlier you were mentioning best practices with regards to how to get the word out there in terms of advocacy during COVID-19. So what I'd like to ask for all our viewers is to go to Anna-Kaisa's Twitter handle and go to one of the posts she made on December 6th. And what she did there is retweeting, I think, the single best content I've seen throughout this whole year, which is for the independence celebration of Finland. You had a so-called shouter choir, which are Finns who are men and they're dressed up in suits. For some reason, they decided to go out into the middle of some forest and they're shouting equality, human rights, democracy. And I recommend you to see it. It is the single most hilarious thing I have seen in a long time. And I think that's how you can overcome the linguistic and the cultural differences. So you build on Finnish stereotypes, right? That's what's happening here, but you're doing it in a funny way and it goes viral. So again, kiitos paljon, köszönöm szépen. Thank you to our Finnish cousins up north. Hope you don't forget about us Hungarians down here. And, being a Hungarian in this city, you got to answer a few questions about, which parties you support, what you think about the government. But I always say, a Hungarian is never late. We arrive precisely as we mean to. So, we handle this liberum veto issue quite well with the Poles, and I'm confident you're going to be seeing some Hungarians running in and out of Brussels in the coming years. So I think many of them who are watching are really appreciative of the points you made. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm going to give the floor quickly to Jesus Olivares Guerrero, who needs to jump into another call. So please introduce yourself, Jesus, and yeah, just share with us whatever you wish.
Hi, everybody. Well, my name is Jesus Olivares, and as you can imply from my name, I'm Spanish. So unlike my Hungarian friends, I normally am not on time to the meetings and stuff, but that's for another chat. So my question is perhaps a little bit more related to the previous presentation by Anna. And so basically I work at a consultant firm here in Brussels, and I specifically work in the healthcare industry with pharmaceutical clients, patient representatives, and so on. And my experience and my impression when looking at other business units in my firm is that women tend to work in certain policy areas. Healthcare, for instance, I am actually the only guy who is in the team. The rest is women. While in other policy areas such as trade, energy, it is mostly male, and there are no women. So my question for you all, for Anna and also for Anna-Kaisa, was whether you think there is a correlation between policy area and women's participation. And yeah, so that's my question. Thank you.
Gracias, Jesus. Ana? Let me unmute you.
So indeed, I mean, the figures would suggest that women are not doing very well in terms of representation in sort of the so-called hard topics, and that includes, of course, energy, renewables, trade, etc. This is indeed true, but there are experts out there, and it's just that they're not as visible. And the problem that women are often also underrepresented in C-suites and in boards, and those are sort of the speakers that usually are sought by conference organizers. The seniority aspect plays a big role. That sort of makes their participation less visible. And this is what we're trying to tackle as well by having sort of industry kind of or sectorial based of databases as well and bring them under our network. So I don't know what Anna-Kaisa thinks, but yeah, I would say that indeed this is a structural problem that we're facing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, I think. I mean, it was a very good point. The thing that you pointed this out. I think it was Sebastian in the beginning who said that the Biden team, communications team, is a very distinguished all-female panel. But I mean, this is very, very, very often the case that communications and human resources in any company are women. I mean, people who work in these either communications or human resources tend to be women, because that's how you make up the numbers that you can then say that, well, we have as many women as we have men, when men are doing all the executive roles, and then women are, spokespeople or communications directors, and then they take care of the human resources. I think to your question about whether there's a specific segregation or a difference between women doing certain types of jobs, I mean, I think it's the so-called STEM factor, that there are less women studying sciences, technology, engineering, mathematics. And this is something that European Union and many other organizations, the UN as well, are trying to push more girls to study sciences, so that this segregation could be made up. But I mean, in terms of policy areas, I think that we're seeing less and less of kind of men sciences and women sciences, and men politics and women politics. I covered energy and climate action for 5 years in the Commission, and then we can already see that, especially now that it's becoming there's more funds and there's more the sustainability aspect is playing a bigger role. We're moving away from kind of big oil and gas towards more renewables, etc. So the role of women is bigger there. But again, it very often boils down to the fact that the so-called STEM topics at school for a very long time tended to be for men. I find myself, I mean, there's obviously still there's a very strong segregation in many areas, but I think we're moving ahead. But in terms of having, an all women group to do something, or all male group to do something, I don't necessarily find this to be the solution either. I mean, obviously, I think Biden made very good choices, but yeah, it shouldn't. But it shouldn't be just always women taking care of, being spokespeople for men.
If I may add just one thing, and this is back to what I was saying about the fact that why we focus on conferences for the Brussels Binder as well in the media is because this is a way to show that experts do exist, and this is a way of creating role models as well. So this is what, back to my point, and sorry to bring in such a high level statement, but I'm not necessarily sort of an expert on sort of gender policies and gender mainstreaming, but that's what we're trying to do with the Brussels Binder, to try to elevate those voices of them in these underrepresented sectors, as you mentioned.
Thank you, Jesus, and thank you for staying with us. I know that you have another meeting coming up. What I will do now is I would like to go back to the original. Yeah, bye, Jesus. I would like to go back to the original, to the real case that Anna-Kaisa shared with us. The reason why, to me, it was very curious, the work you did, is because I was an insider at that time. I was working for one of the delegations in the European Parliament, and everything that you've said is resonating with me. The fact that, especially for newcomers, for newbies, MEPs, which are like 50% of the MEPs in this Parliament are new. I think that's if I got that right. And I was new in the Parliament, so when you arrive in July it's the month that you exchange jobs and who is the chair, who is the vice chair, etc. Then you go on holidays, and then boom, September, it's you have the hearings. and it is true that intuitively you try to target the assistants and the MEPs, but we at that point we had no influence whatsoever. We were being led by senior people in the political groups, by senior assistants, by the exceptional advisors from the parliament in the different committees, and they were the ones that really knew what to do. So to me, it was very smart how you approach it. You pretty much ask you the basic questions: what do I want to achieve? Who is gonna be my ally? When? And in the end, it was very successful. My question is, it was successful, but especially for women, it was the last year hearings were brutal for women. I mean, you had the Romania candidate being dropped out of the race for, allegedly some corruption issues. You had Sylvie Goulart as well being thrown out of and it was quite brutal for women, I would say, for women candidates. How did you adapt to that set? Was it a setback? Did that impact you in any way? And how did you adapt to that reality?
It was brutal, yes, for the candidates that you mentioned, but in overall, I think women got pas mal. We have the president of the European Central Bank, or there's a woman as a chair of the European Central Bank. There's a European woman heading the International Monetary Fund in Washington. And then there is now, following the stepping down of Phil Hogan, Commissioner Phil Hogan, who was replaced by Marian McGuinness, there is now gender parity amongst the commissioners for the first time ever in the over 60 decades of European commissions. So yes, I mean there was the case of these two women candidates, but I don't think that their gender or that their sex was particularly the reason, because I mean this is part of the game of the hearings, because it's a political power struggle as well, and there are all kinds of different interests flying all over the place. They were both, I find, very good candidates, but I mean then yes, one of them replaced by a man, and but this is how it goes. But I wouldn't say it was super brutal. I mean, it's just, I mean, this is, I mean, when you throw your hat in the ring, I mean, all bets are off in the European Parliament in this game. I mean, it's a tough arena.
Indeed. I'm also. I also have a question on because for us, and I work at Renew Europe, and one of the things that we try to do is bring give more. Not saying that we need parity, we need a quota or anything like that. Like what we say usually is bring to the table a man and a woman, and let them compete, let us decide which one is the best candidate, but at least you need to present us with a man and a woman for a position. More recently was the position at the ECB executive board. The council, of course, ignored us. They presented two male candidates. So I guess let's do a reflection here on this issue. I mean, what are the specific solutions that you and also Ana Mingo would like to see to give more opportunities and to see more women occupying top positions in political, banking, finance, etc. And also, I mean, do you think that even the decision makers in the example I made, the council, they are really, they are really up for it?
Could I? Okay. I mean, to the question, I mean, the quotas and these things, I mean, obviously, and targets it's going to be a difficult discussion forever, that's for sure. But at the same time, I firmly believe that what gets measured gets done. That's just as simple as that. The European Commission set up a very clear target for senior management, for the civil service, for the senior management to be a certain percentage point. I think it was 40% to be women. And unless you put this out in the open, there's no way to follow up whether you actually reach it or not. And we can discuss whether quotas are the right way or not, but there needs to be some measurable, actionable target. And I'm myself, I mean, I'm definitely for quotas. I mean, I'm pro quota because I mean, I don't like the quotas as such, but I like what they achieve. We only need to look back a couple of decades in history. There was 100% male quota in law, in constitutions across the world, and it worked. So no one can say that quotas don't work. There was a constitutional 100% male quota in politics and public life in most countries in the world. So quotas do work and they achieve good things. But I think, I mean, probably the softer stance is that what gets measured gets done. That's the only way around it.
Great.
So if I may jump in, so I would say that we agree in the end result, right? What we want is to live up to those values declared in Article 2 of the Treaty on European Union. And those include a great many number of values, but I would stress here equality, just one. Now, I would say that, to give you an example from my childhood, once we had some university students come to my high school with a questionnaire asking, would you be in favor of having a Hungarian president who is female? And, you know, some kids were saying yes, some kids were saying no. I returned the paper immediately and I said, I would like to ask for more information. And they were shocked. What do you mean more information? I said, well, I would like to know if she is competent or not. If yes, then yes. If not, then no. And I think that is the key point, that I would be in favor of having a European Commission staffed entirely by women, all female commissioners, provided that they are the best of the best, that their CVs, their resumes, their achievements match up. And I think currently we face the issue.
Yeah, his connection is always very unstable. It's not the first time. But you do get the point. If Anna-Kaisa or Ana Mingo, you want to comment with the information that we were able to hear. Yeah, Anna? You're on mute, 1 sec. Can you unmute yourself? Sentence of the year. Yeah, there you go.
Right. So just echoing what Anna-Kaisa was saying, I obviously do not speak on behalf of the Brussels Binder or my colleagues, but I would tend to agree that you need to measure results, and that is just forcing people to look at other profiles that can take up or participate in a certain structure. And we need to remove this stigma that is around quotas. Oh, I'm a quota woman, etc. Because it just means that you are competent to be there. It doesn't mean if someone is looking, for example, for a job and is forced to look beyond sort of the more obvious candidates that are sort of easy to find, which are usually men, they will not just settle with someone because she's a woman. No, she's a woman and she's qualified. And we need to get rid of sort of that quotas are sort of bad in general for society, etc. Is it sort of a, should it be a temporary measure? Probably. It won't have to be, but it won't have to be a permanent measure. But no, I would definitely agree, and we need to remove the stigma around. And also, I think that it is good when the European Commission or people say, "Oh, I will not participate in panels that are comprised of mostly men." I think this is a quota, sort of, and this is a good thing. So, yeah that's my.
Yeah, so I dropped off technically. So what I wanted to say was that I think we find ourselves in a very difficult situation where we forego other forms of diversity. So give you an example. It might be that a panel is all male, but it might be diverse in other ways. It could be that those people speak different languages, come from different member states, represent different classes, different economic situations, different types of thinking ideologically. So I think let's strive for diversity. Let's try to be united in diversity, but I would not force any particular quota in any way. And like I said, I'm completely in favor of a 100% female European Commission because I don't care. What I care about is competence. And I see some very competent European commissioners. So for example, I was very happy with Ursula von der Leyen, and I was also happy with Madrid McGuinness. And I don't want to name drop, but I think there are some amazingly unqualified persons in the European Commission, both who are male and who are female, and there are much better candidates, both on the male and the female side, who would replace them, and they are there because of the idea that we need to have this equality, when in fact, I think it just results in very bad civil service for our citizens.
Okay, what had you thrown? I will let add any of the, even Monica, if you want to just wrap it up from your side. You may answer Danish or not. So I'll let's do a last round, and then we can wrap it up there. Anna Mingo, I think you. Yep.
Yeah, just on your comment, yes, I mean, I wish we were in a world where we focus on competence, but it's just not the case. It cannot be that we have that 50% of the population is just not represented. Yeah, we need these to force it somehow. And it doesn't mean that people that don't have the qualifications are going to be hired or are going to be taken. No, I mean, it just will force people to look a little bit beyond the obvious candidates. That's what we're that is what I would think a quota would achieve.
And I respect that. It's just that I have.
Sorry. That's it. Sorry, you were not looking for an answer. You were asking for a final remark, Sebastian?
No. No, what I say is that if you want to come back to Danish, then you will have an opportunity. Right. Anna-Kaisa, but yeah, let's start wrapping up because the whole idea of this is to keep it really short. It's just our lunch. We have some other things going on, and I don't want to extend it much longer. But I do love the discussion. I do love that we are so passionate about it. So I'll give it to Anna-Kaisa.
Well, I mean, I don't have any particular comment to make to what was pointed out. I mean, as I said, the quota debate, I mean, it will go on forever. People are very, very divided on that, and then that was not the point of the topic of today's talk. Overall, I think we're moving in the right direction, in a more diverse direction. There's definitely a huge push by the civil society to move towards that, and then hopefully Brussels will catch up. I mean, it's an international multicultural place, and then hopefully we will see in the next European elections that the new European Parliament will be even more diverse, both in terms of having different genders and ideologies and other things. So yeah. I'm very hopeful. I mean, this year hasn't given too much, reason for hope. But yeah, on that, I'm kind of hopeful.
All right. So I think we are gonna wrap it up now. Thank you so much for joining. There are other people who wanted to join us today, couldn't ask a question. We have some questions from social media, but I think we've not only covered what we were supposed to do, which was presenting the amazing work of the Brussels Binder, learn about a very particular example of a successful campaign that I think has helped all of us, and then I think you have inspired members like Monica and Dennis, who are really doing that job at the moment, and in a very difficult context. And I And I wish that this has been helpful to them and to more people. Thank you very much. And yeah, we'll come across each other in the future, I'm sure. And if we don't see before Christmas, have a great holiday season and come back in 2021 with even more energy. Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye bye. It was super interesting.
Thank
Muchas
you.
gracias, dziękuję, kitos, thank you, köszönöm szépen.
Bye, thanks.